This is Nate Parrish, and you're listening to my chapter of As the Story Grows.
Welcome to the next chapter of As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. This week, we welcome Nate Parrish to the podcast. Nate released his debut solo record, I'm a Wreck, in 2020. I had no knowledge of Nate's background and history going into this podcast and was surprised by his musical trajectory. Nate talks about being in a worship band, signed with Integrity Records, how he got involved in Kutless, and the punk rock roots that he showcases on I'm a Wreck. Nate is also a visual artist, and we talk about the inspiration for his pieces. This was a fun chat, and I hope you guys enjoy getting to know Nate Parrish. How's pandemic life been treating you?
Wait, there's a pandemic? Yeah, it's.
I don't know if you've heard.
Well, yeah, I don't get out much. It's been. I can't complain too much, to be honest with you. I mean, I think the scariest part about it is it's how frustrating it is, and then because for me and my wife, like we had our son 4 months ago. So we've been occupied with that, and we're able to work from home, no problem. But it's frustrating to see like other people and, even local businesses. We live downtown, like they're just closing because.
Yeah.
So that's for me is like, it's infuriating. You feel like pretty helpless.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's pretty tough. Were you California born and raised?
Yeah. Yep. Stockton, California. I don't know if you've ever heard of Stockton.
I have not.
At one point, we were, I think we were like top 5 worst places to live.
Oh, that's fun.
So that was cool. And then we were in the top 10 for murders. So,
oh man, pretty
tight.
That's fun. What was? I'm from DC, so I understand. Like growing up, like DC, murder capital of the world, right? Like,
Philadelphia is not.
Yeah, Philadelphia is not that much better. Just move from one terrible place to the next.
That's why
they're both great. So. Yeah, right.
No, I love California, man. It's they kind of make it a little hard to live here sometimes. A bunch of people are leaving, mass exodus. But I really love the beach, and I love the people here. So,
cool. What was growing up like for you?
It was good. I mean, I had I was in a I don't know if it was a Christian household, but my mom is a pretty hardcore Christian, and my dad was sort of one of those. He was a man of faith, but he didn't like church, and he grew up Mormon, and so he kind of like went off the rails, because of that religion tends to be pretty restrictive, oppressive, some other adjectives, but he's like, okay, I'm gonna grow my hair out, get a motorcycle, and go nuts. So. He did that, but growing up, I had, I was instilled with Christian values, but we weren't like a church-going family, really. And I went to a private school. I think that was my mom's way of keeping me out of trouble, and it worked. I was really into art, so I was content to just sit in my room and draw, and got into music, and been doing both those ever since. So
that's cool. What got you into music?
They say when I was little, they would put me in front of the TV because MTV came out. What was it, 83 or something like that? And so back then they used to play music videos. I don't know if you're familiar with music videos, but they used to play those. So they'd put me in front of the TV, and I would just like dance and whatever they could just leave me there. And they said I love Talking Heads, so Somehow they surmised that was my favorite band because I guess I got most stoked when Talking Heads came on.
Nice.
So I got a tape when I was really little. I didn't know what it was. I got it for Christmas. It was the Talking Heads tape, and then I borrowed my dad's The Cars' Greatest Hits, and dude, I wore that tape out.
Yeah.
So I think, early on, I just loved music, and my dad and my mom, they're both. My sister's name is Rhiannon, so she's after a Fleetwood Mac song. So we have a lot of family music roots.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you? At what point did you start playing music and playing guitar?
I got a guitar for my 18th birthday, so I started really late.
Oh yeah.
You always hear about, I started when I was 6. I'm like, that'd have been cool. I'd be so much better. But I got a guitar when I was 18. I think I always wanted to play, but I was scared of sucking at it.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe if I just don't try, then I won't have to disappoint myself. But I decided to go for it. Got a guitar. My dad got me this little Epiphone amp and a little Squier. And man, I played guitar all day, every day. I'd get home from school, play guitar. I'd play before I went to school in the morning at like 7 a.m. I'd wake up, turn my amp on and play. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a friend who was really good. He's one of those like guys who, he could play all the classical stuff on acoustic. And I was like, hey dude, can you show me how to play guitar? He's like, sure. What do you want to learn? I was like, I really want to learn When I Come Around by Green Day. He's like, no, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you that crap. I was like, okay, something by Fish. He's like, now we're talking.
Oh man,
forget that. So I convinced him to show me When I Come Around, and it was a Metallica song, The Unforgiven, just like basic bar chords. And so once I figured out what a bar chord was, I was like, well, I can figure the rest out, and I would just put on like a Social D album or something and try to figure out, like, play along with it,
Mm-hmm.
So I never had lessons. That's what I did.
That's cool. So if you were 18 when you started playing guitar, what was high school like for you? You weren't a band guy, or you said you're also into art?
I was into art. I played basketball, which is really weird for people to hear, because they're like, you were into sports? Oh, dude, I loved basketball, but I was kind of like the Rodman of the team. I had like bleached hair and I had piercings. And I remember my coach, I showed up one day with like frosted tips because, of course.
Yeah.
And I had like spiky, like little mini Liberty spikes, about as much as I can get away with in private school. And he's like, oh, you got your hair done? I was like, yeah. He's like, put it back. I was like, what? Like, yeah. You can't be on the team with that. So go fix it. I thought he was joking. He did that to me at school.
Oh my God.
And practice was later that day. So I was like, are you being serious? He's like, yeah. You can't be on the team looking like that. So my dad had to come pick me up from school, take me to some hair salon and dye it like brownish.
Oh man.
And then he dropped me off at basketball practice. So super weird, but yeah. So on the team, I was kind of like the Rodman, if you will. I was like, and he likes basketball, but he's just really into like rock music too. It's sort of weird. We don't know what to do with him. So.
That's cool. So after high school, were you going to college, or were you like, I could play guitar, I want to be in a band? Or
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. I got my guitar, and then 6 months later, I had a friend who at school was like the punk rock guy. Like, it's like, oh man, he's got a leather jacket, like a real one. And I think he knows about like cool bands. Like he knew about MXPX and Goaty Hook and, Supertones or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like the punk rock kid. And he would do little acts of rebellion at school. Like, I'm not going to tuck in my shirt, And so he was starting a band, and I had been playing for like, 6 months. But I had taken to it really well. So I had written some songs, and he called me up one day and he's like, hey, we got a show. It's like, oh, for reals? He's like, yeah, we're opening for the Huntingtons. And I like had a heart attack because at that time, like Huntingtons is like on the top of my list. I love them. And then it was our band was a side project of a band called Shop 11 Phoenix. Are you familiar with this band? They were like a Betty Rock Records. So some members from Shop 11 were in the band I was in. And so we did a show, and I was like, well, this is easy. I don't even know how to play guitar, and I already made it. Opened up hands, we're playing a show, and then we broke up like a week later.
Oh my.
So in my mind, once that happened, I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty, I just avoided that conversation with my parents. Like, I'm not going to tell them that. I'm going to go to school and, liberal arts. And I took art classes and whatever other, basic classes you take. But the whole time I was doing like little bands, or I was playing. If I couldn't get a band together, I'd play by myself and do shows like that.
Yeah.
So I always really wanted to do that, but I think my parents were supportive, and they're like, that's really cool that you want to do that, but also, do you have a backup plan, because that's really, really next to impossible?
Yeah.
But sure. What's your backup plan? I'll be an artist. Like, oh, good. Do you have a third plan? Or so? I did a little bit of both, and luckily it's panned out for me in some way or another.
Yeah. From that band breaking up, what was your band trajectory like?
Oh man. So that band was called Moving Forward, which is like the most early 2000s pop punk, name.
Oh yeah.
And we broke up, and then I was also at that time I had discovered psychobilly. I was really into Necromantics and Tiger Army. I think I discovered Tiger Army through AFI. I was also still am a huge AFI fan. And so I had seen that Davey and some guys are on this Tiger Army album. So I loved it because, I love Social Distortion, and they kind of flirt with that rockabilly stuff. And so we started a psychobilly band in Stockton. We were the only psychobilly band, I don't even know, probably outside of the Bay Area. We were called the Deadites, and we had a song about like Evil Dead, and I had written a song about this girl that I broke up with called Black Widow. We had all but there was like all this buzz, but we never actually played a show. Like, we would do like a guest appearance at some other band's show. We'd show up and do a song, and then that was it. So we never really got off the ground with that. And then I just was like, screw this band thing. I'm going to do it acoustic stuff. So I did that for a while. And early in my 20s, I had moved to Modesto, and I was in a music internship at a church where they train you how to be a worship leader. It's like the weirdest. I don't even know how I got there. I remember, because I didn't even listen to worship music. I wasn't a fan of Christian music, but I was a Christian. So, and they're like, hey, you play guitar, go in the youth band. And so I joined the youth band, and we started writing our own songs, because we just were like, oh, it'd be cool if they had like better songs for worship. And so we did that, and somehow we made an album. That album got passed around at Spirit West Coast, festival. Yeah. Got passed around there. And then we had labels coming out. So we had like Tooth and Nail didn't, but like Sparrow came out and some of those other labels. And then we ended up signing with Integrity.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's sort of soccer mom worship stuff. It's fine. It's really ironic to me. I was like, how am I here right now?
Right.
But yeah, the band was called Worth Dying For. Did that for a few years and toured, and we had a really big tour with Kutless and 1,000 Foot Crutch, Firefly. Run Kid Run was on that tour, and I really liked them. And I became friends with James from Kutless. And I actually made a vlog about being obsessed with Kutless and like trying to like work my way into the band.
Oh yeah,
like a parody, sort of like the Office type parody. And years later, that was like 2008. In 2015, James called me. He's like, hey, we need a guitar player. Do you want to play? I was like, yeah. And so that's how I ended up joining Kutless. So now people find that video and they're like, oh, that's cool. You made that video after joining. It's like, I made that video 7 years before it was even it was like this weird thing I did, and somehow it actually happened. It's super weird. So
yeah.
So I somehow found myself in Kutless, and then that's that. I still play in Kutless, but that's like my band trajectory. The whole Nate Parrish thing is just kind of me by myself and some friends.
Yeah. What was that experience like with Worth Dying For and being on Integrity and being thrust into this worship circuit? I mean, did you tour and play festivals on that?
Yeah, it was really weird because, we were in Modesto during the early 2000 hardcore explosion. So we actually had a venue at our church, and we had like I met August Burns Red. They came through, and we had like the Showdown, and actually our first show ever was Sidewalk Slam. And so we had all these bands coming through, and these are the kind of kids that would come to the youth group. And so it made sense for us, for me, coming from like a punk rock background. I'm like, it's no offense, I just don't, this like Christian music as a whole, apart from like the Tooth and Nail, Solid State kind of stuff, it just never spoke to me.
Yeah.
And so, it was kind of a no-brainer. We're like, well, why don't we just do our own thing then, since we don't like what's going on? So that's kind of how that formed. I was like the screamer in that band, even though it was like a worship band, and we played in some drop tunings and experimented with all this other kind of stuff. And yeah, Integrity, actually, we made that album independently. They just purchased the album, and then we recorded like 2 songs to add to it.
Yeah.
And our first big tour was that Creation tour with Kutless and all those bands. So yeah, it was really weird. It's a rock worship band. Now it's a little more, I guess it's a little more prevalent. I don't know if I can name them, but it's not as foreign of a concept as it was back then, because everything was just literally Hillsong.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Maybe Jesus Culture or whatever.
Yeah. And it's all kind of the same, like YouTube.
Essentially, it's the same.
Style,
and
right?
Yeah. And so that was the weird part for us when Integrity was like, we love what you guys doing. We're going to because at that time Hillsong was on Integrity. So they're like, we're going to put you on tour with Hillsong. And I was like, this is really cool, but also super weird. Like, it's just for me personally. And
yeah.
So the guy who signed us ended up leaving like 2 months later.
Oh man.
New A&R came in and they hated us. Because we turned in our demos for the second album, and they're like, no, there's not one song on here. And we turned in, it was 25 songs. And there's like, there's not one. Oh, cool. Well, that's all we got. So they ended up, we finished the album, and they just dropped us.
Oh man.
So I don't want to trash on Integrity, but my experience was not good.
Yeah.
It was, and that world is, man, it's, I'll choose my words carefully here. It is not different from any other business.
Yeah.
I don't think it is, it's a business. You may get you may get a smile while they take your money, but they will take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it was a good learning experience, and it made me realize I was like, this is cool, but it's not where I want to be.
Yeah.
So it was hard though. I mean, with the whole, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and they're like, oh, cool, thanks, you're done. And also all the money you spent and all the songs you did, you can't have them. Oh, great. Perfect. So we ended up working it out, and we released the album. I think it took like 1.5 years to get it all worked out. And actually our album did really well, and it was independent. Actually did better than the first one. So yeah, it worked out in the end. It was a good learning experience.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm listening to Worth Dying For on Spotify now. I put it up, and yeah, it's such a different sound for worship now, but like thinking back to 2007 and like, yeah.
Are you listening to the self-titled?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about the second album, which that first album I didn't really contribute. I was writing songs, but they were our label was basically like, these are too much. It's too much. And so years later with the second album, I actually contributed. I was writing like 5 or 6 of the songs, but they changed the name of the band after I had left to Fearless Band. And so if you try to find that album, it won't be under Worth Dying For. It will now be under Fearless Band. So, and it's called Love Riot.
We stand up, we rise up to give our lives up for this burden, this passion, to burn a lifetime for you. Burn for you, Savior, send your presence to this dying.
Yeah, that one's got, in my opinion, I prefer that album. I feel like it's
Love Riot.
Yeah.
That name's familiar. Why is that familiar?
Well, it was like a few months later, Newsboys put out a Love Riot album.
Oh.
So I sued the crap out of them. Just kidding.
Oh no, I found that record. Yeah, Savior. This song's familiar.
Yeah, it was on. It actually went to #1 on rock radio after I had left the band. So that was.
Oh wow, nice.
So I wrote that one in 2005. It didn't come out until 2011. So you'll hear me screaming on that one. And they actually had it in the mix because the first album they just buried it. You know, like, oh no, it's satanic. So the moms will crash their vans before soccer practice right into the side of the road. So.
I've heard that before. That's so funny. So Kutless, you joined in 2015. Were you on the Surrender record?
That album was actually being finished. So the only thing I did contribute was I started playing a couple of those songs live, and then they weren't finished yet. I think they were still doing some mixing. So I played a riff differently on like our cover of One Thing Remains.
Okay.
I did just some eighth note thing because that felt like appropriate, and they liked that. So I recorded on a phone and I gave it to Aaron Sprinkle, and then he like made it better. And so that was my contribution.
Nice. What's that experience been like? Because it's not a similar realm as being on Integrity, but it's still like Kutless has kind of moved sort of into that worship realm as.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, especially since putting out my own album. People are like, so how did you, it's a departure from your Kutless sound. Like, is I have not contributed one thing to a Kutless album.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't recorded one thing. So I learned the stuff, and we play live. Our set is kind of like it spans the spectrum of our sound. So you'll get everything from like Strong Tower to like Tear It Up, or maybe something off the first album. But I'll make some of those songs my own. We play them live. We tend to do things a little heavier and stuff. But I haven't really contributed. It just hasn't worked out. So I don't know a lot about that process apart from I'll get the memos like, here's a song. Like, oh, cool. Sounds good. I'll learn it. So, yeah.
That's cool. Did I see Kutless was working on new music or was supposed to work on new music this year?
Yeah, working on new music currently. It's a EP as of right now. And it's definitely a rock album. The demos, I've been, hearing early demos and some mixes now. And if you like the rock stuff, you'll definitely be super into it. I would say it's a return, but it's even heavier than the first album. You're like, oh, is it heavy like Hearts of the Innocent or whatever? And like it's actually way heavier than all that stuff. It's probably more akin to kind of in that Disciple world of rock. So it's really cool though. Yeah, I think if you like the Kutless rock stuff, you'll definitely enjoy it.
Don't wanna be your guiding light.
Well, this year you released I'm a Wreck, solo kind of pop punk record. What inspired you to release this record? And you said you were playing acoustic for a while there. So what led to I'm a Wreck?
So, over the years, like you've heard, I've sort of been in, I find myself in these bands and doing stuff, and I enjoy it, but it had been a really long time since I just sat down with a guitar and sang what I wanted to. It was either someone else's song or doing worship, or even my wife and myself, we had a worship project, and it's all great. I just, I had been, I don't know. I just had a lot of stuff on my head, in my head, on my heart, whatever. And I wanted to sort of get it out there. And it was kind of a new experience, ironically, of writing my own songs and doing my own thing. It's been so long. So basically, I just set up a home studio, and I made a commitment that I would sit there and I would write and record whatever came to mind, whatever I was feeling, and I wasn't going to edit it or think about anything apart from, is this how I feel? Is this how I want, this song to sound? And that was it. So a lot of my influences came out, and it's hard to put yourself in a genre. I just say punk rock because I know those are my main influences, and I know what goes into the songs, but it's always interesting to hear what they think it is or whatever. So it was probably a year before the album came out. I sat down, and the first song I wrote was Politicians and Celebrities. And I just, picked up the guitar, tracked it, hummed a melody, and I sang it. And I wasn't going to try to it's always kind of intimidating when you've been doing all these other bands and you have all these fantastic musicians and singers around, and then you're like, it's your turn to sing.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. But I just did it for myself. I wanted to do this album for myself. And so I would write and release a song a month. So I did that for the first 6 months. And so you'll hear through the album, there's kind of different influences that sneak their way in there. They're all, I think they all fall under that umbrella of punk rock, capital P.
Yeah.
There's different, there's some pop punk elements. There's some, a little bit of the 70s Ramones type stuff in there. And there's some, not ska influence, but there's some horns on there, which, I love saxophone. And so you'll hear a lot of different subgenres, but, because you're writing different songs at different times and, different subject matter. But that's literally what it was. I just wanted to make an album by myself, for myself. Very selfish of me. But that's how it came about.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can hear it in the latest singles, Bullets and Blades has a social D feel.
Yeah.
Everything is outrage. Yeah. Has that Ramones, Huntington, that Squad 5-0 Bombs Over Broadway era sound to it. I'm a Wreck. Yeah. Ska was the first thing that came to my mind. So it's cool to hear the progressions and as you talk about your influences, how it comes through. House Made of Mirrors as that rockabilly vibe to it, psychobilly, whatever you want to call it, right?
I wanted to keep everything simple and straightforward. So even on a couple of the songs, I was I'm, kind of in the old tradition of Johnny Cash and even Social D. It's the same progression the entire song, but they use dynamics and melody to keep it interesting. And so I wanted to do that on purpose on a few songs. Keep it simple. I don't want to get caught up too much in, what if I did this cool pocket here and the drummer did this ginormous fill and whatever. I wanted to keep it really straightforward, real simple, and then have it be about the message and kind of the delivery. And true punk rock form, it was always about a message and keeping it straightforward. The Ramones were just hey, here's what we want to say, literally what we're going to say, and we're going to play it fast and straightforward.
Yeah. Has being a member of Kutless helped you promote and get the record out there and in places you might not normally have if you were just Nate Parrish?
I think so. Yeah. Like I said, it's an interesting thing because I don't want it to be hey, if you love Kutless, you'll love because I think if you love Kutless, you probably won't like Nate Parrish.
Yeah.
They're very different. But yeah, it was sort of at the beginning, if I was gonna, because I did everything, everything self-promoted. So I would literally just email whatever HM magazine and say, hey, I'm putting out this album. I play guitar and Kutless. And then they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll check it out, because maybe they wouldn't before. I don't know. You never know. But I think it has helped in that way, but it also creates an interesting sort of dynamic when I do interviews or people review it. You'll see a lot of interviews like, this is not what I expected from Kutless.
Right.
It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's
not the point. Yeah.
That's not the point. And yeah, so there's that, but I do think it's helped. And it's actually, I'm very surprised from the reception of it. It's been extremely positive, and I'm always just amazed that people are listening to it at all, but it is nice to, getting reviews and things like that. And so.
Yeah. Did you originally have plans to tour this record, or did you kind of always know it was going to come out in the midst of live music being nixed?
Oh man. I tried not to have I tried to just keep the goal was to write the songs, put out the album. I wanted to do physical CDs because I just like them.
Yeah.
And do everything that way. And then, the guys that I play with here, like our guys from our worship team, actually are really great musicians. So they're in my band, quote unquote, because like on the album, like Ethan Luck plays drums. He's obviously not here. He's in Nashville. And but I have guys here that are amazing. So friends of mine. So we play it. So I was planning on playing and kind of seeing where that goes, and potentially just sort of using maybe some of those open doors of festivals or whatever. Like some contacts I have. So I definitely want to, but Earth did not see fit for me to go rocking. So, but it's, created some, try to look at the silver lining of it. It's definitely, it's really strengthened my songwriting because that's what I have to focus on. I'm not going and playing, but we've done some stuff, some quarantine style. We did a online music festival a few months ago, quarantine style. So all the guys filmed at their house, and we mixed it all and put it together for this live stream. And we've done some music videos that way, and planning to do some more. So you make it work. Obviously I'd love to do it in person soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your future? What's your hopes with this Nate Parrish solo project to keep releasing and doing solo records?
My plan is to hopefully get signed by Integrity, and I'd love to win a Dove Award, and that's it. No, my goal is to keep putting out music. I've been working on an EP since summer. So before the album came out, I was already working on the next thing, and I just want to keep putting out stuff. I love it. I love writing. I love all of it. So I've got some stuff to say, and I'll just keep putting out music.
They give us just enough leash so we think that we're in the lead. It's just enough need to remind us that we have days. They'll let you walk back, but only after they say stay. A pat on the hand when we defend without question. They throw us bombs and we retreat.
You mentioned your art background. Up on your website, you have Nate Makes Stuff and just a bunch of really cool drawings you've done. I guess just talk about what your I'm not sure how to ask this. Talk about your art. That's what I said.
Talk about my art.
Talk about your art.
So I've been drawing since I was a kid, and I love just the ability to express things, visually and musically. They seem to go hand in hand, and especially with like this project, every song I designed like a little icon for it and stuff, and that was really fun to be able to do that. That was part of the fun of releasing a song a month. It's like, all right, cool, I get to do new artwork. But yeah, over the years I've done a bunch of different stuff, and I think recently, you know, within the last couple of years, with like just things being so, it seems like everything is so divisive and everything is just, it's just, yeah. Society, we've been having a bad couple of years. So I had all these random ideas and puns and different mashups that pop into my head, but I was just like, that'd be funny. But I never did anything with it because I'm like, my art is serious, okay? It's not here for jokes. But then I was like, well, no, that'd be fun. So I just started doing these random mashups and posting them, and then eventually, you know, put them on shirts and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's purely for entertainment. And there's some stuff on there that, you know, I'll make some deeper statements and some, you know, social commentary and satire type stuff. But a lot of it is just, wouldn't it be cool if I made a Ramones shirt, but it was He-Man instead of the Ramones? You know, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, I like Bullets and Blades was the newest thing I put out, and you know, the little icon with the guy. I love creating stuff like that visually, hopefully is thought provoking, you know, and it's not just my picture on a cover of an album, you know.
Yeah, it's cool. Is that something you do professionally? You know, you got some logos up on your website?
Yeah, here and there. It's mostly just freelance stuff. My day job is I work at a church, the creative director. So worship and, you know, our visual stuff and our videos and things like that. So I do a lot of that for my job. Luckily, I love it, so it doesn't feel like a job. But I'll do side stuff here and there, and I've done some. I did, like, you remember FM Static?
Yeah.
I did their second album artwork back in the day because I had met Trevor on tour, and he saw me drawing. He's like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. You want to draw it?" Yeah. So I found myself doing random projects for different bands sometimes, and merch, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Full circle back at a church.
Dude, right back, dude. I'm right back at it. Well, I mean, ministry is, it's just, if you're called to it, if you're designed for it, then that's where that's where you find yourself. But I think for me, I like to have a healthy conflict with those things. I like to not just, I don't know, you have to be, you know, the movie SLC Punk.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite lines from that is towards the end, you know, where he says you could do a lot more damage in the system than you can outside of it, because they called him a sellout because he's becoming a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was true. And, you know, even when I saw that movie, I was like, I had blue hair. So you get my language, but it's true. Like, there's enough. It's easy to complain and it's easy to point fingers, but if you actually care about change, then you'll get your hands dirty and be a part of something. So try to do that.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our theme song was written and composed by the legendary Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe on iTunes and give the show a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, click on the Patreon link at asthestorygrows.com. If you enjoyed this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never thought